Hi, welcome back to the Beauty Lab podcast. I'm your host, Monina, and my co-host, Velia. This is episode 24. Can you believe that?
I know.
Episode 24. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We hope that you've enjoyed everything so far. But today, what we're going to do is talk about stories from behind the chair. As you know, Velia and I have both been in the beauty industry for over 20 years, and you can imagine lots of stories happen because lots of people tell us their most innermost secrets sometimes. Velia. We're not going to divulge any secrets here, but lots of stories from our perspective as a stylist. So today's stories from behind the chair. Are you ready, Velia?
I am ready.
Okay, here we go. So our first question is, what is your most embarrassing moment as a stylist?
Okay, so I'm pretty hard to embarrass, actually, because I don't take myself very seriously. So I feel like in order to embarrass me, you got to try really hard. I have two stories, actually. The first one's a quick one. I was a very new stylist, like probably the first week that I was in a salon after graduating. A lot of stylists, after they graduate cosmetology school, they assist, and then they wind up getting their own chair. I went straight to behind the chair, working as like a real stylist.
So you didn't have like that downtime where you shadowed and
none.
Wow.
Yeah, they thought I was ready.
Okay.
and my naive, I was ready. Okay, so my very first men's haircut. So the guy comes in, and he's very nice, and I take him back, and we do a consultation, and I go and I wash his hair, and we're having like a really good conversation. He seems super cool, and then I bring him back to the chair, which, saying this out loud, I'm like, why did I wash his hair first? But whatever. But I did. I washed his hair first before a clipper cut, which is wrong. And it's not wrong, but it's not the way I would do it now. So I take him back to the chair, and I start to drape him. And now his energy is starting to change. Like, he's kind of like, why? What are you doing? And then I take out the clippers, and as soon as I go to like make the first cut, he backs away like I'm gonna hurt him. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he goes, wait, you're cutting my hair? And I was like, yes.
Isn't that what you came in for?
And he goes, no, but I thought you were just like the shampoo girl. And I was like, what? Like, I had a whole consultation with you. Like, okay. And he goes, aren't you like 15? Now, I did get my cosmetology license when I was 18. And
so you looked 15.
I looked 15, but I told everybody that I was 23 because I didn't want them to think that I was
a baby.
An 18-year-old cutting their hair. Anyways, I was like, yeah, I am cutting your hair, like, unless you want somebody else to do it. And he goes, well, oh, no, I guess, but you have your license? And I was like, yes, I have my license. And anyways, every cut from there, like, everything I did, I start in the back. He was like, it's too short. Obviously, he couldn't see the back of his hair,
Right.
I gave him a really good haircut that I was very proud of, because men's haircuts are actually really hard. And everyone in the salon, which was a salon of about 15 people, I like kept looking over at me, as we do, when you're in a big salon and there's drama, you like want to know what the tea is. Right. So everyone's like looking at me, like pretending they're not, like just engaging in the drama. And he was relentless. Like, everything I did was wrong. And at the end of it, he left. I would not accept his tip. He like tried to tip me, and I was like, no.
Wow.
And I like walked him up to the front, and then when he left, I walked back, and everyone's heads just turned towards me. And I didn't even look. I could see them, but I didn't look or engage. I just walked straight to the bathroom and cried for like 20 minutes.
Aww.
That's the only time a client's ever made me cry.
Wow.
And when I came back out, everyone was like, oh my God, Velia, you handled that so well. He was such a jerk. And Even the clients were like upset about it.
Wow.
I know. Anyways, I never saw him again, obviously.
Wow.
Yeah, that was sad. So that was like a sad story.
That's sad, but it also shows you people's preconceived notions, right?
Yeah.
Nothing you were going to do was going to be good because in his mind, you were too young to be doing this.
In all fairness, that's why I lied about my age because, I don't know. I wouldn't want to be getting my hair done by an 18-year-old. I wouldn't. However, I would have handled it differently.
Exactly.
Okay, that was like a really truly embarrassing.
Okay.
This one is like oh my God, did that seriously happen? Like that kind of embarrassing. Like I didn't cry. I was more mad. Okay, so this is a story about when you and I, so for those of you who don't know, Monina and I used to own a business called Derailed Beauty Trolley, and it was a mobile salon. And it was custom built. We designed it, and we took our design to a trolley manufacturing company in an entirely different state, and they built us this gorgeous trolley with 3 hair stations, and we did hair and nails and facials and waxing and massage. It was awesome. We did birthday parties, and it was very cool. TLC hired us.
The Married by Mom and Dad.
Yeah, I think it was, if I remember correctly, season 2, episode 9.
I can't believe you remember
that.
I know,
because I've tried looking it up a few times, and it's like you have to pay to find it.
Oh, got it.
Anyways.
Season 2, episode 9.
Season 2, episode 9, if you ever wanted to see us and our trolley. So, okay, so think about an RV, and when you're traveling on an RV, how everything has to be put away, right? Like everything, all of our hair supplies, all of our makeup, all of our everything. So we were hired to do the hair and makeup for the bride that was getting married and her bridesmaids that day. So we, of course, the trolley looked amazing. It was freshly cleaned and shined. And we drive it up, we get there really early, we set everything up. So and that process takes a good 45 minutes to an hour.
At least.
But we were making sure it was sparkling on the inside because it was gonna be filmed on the inside. And all of our makeup looked beautifully displayed, and we had candles lit. Do you remember this?
Yes.
We had candles lit and everything.
The ambiance was great.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. So then the producers get there, and they're like, okay, girls, we want a shot of you driving in. Do you remember that now?
Oh.
And I was like, what?
No.
Okay. Just give us 2 hours to break down everything we just friggin' set up. So I was the driver of the trolley, and it was 32 feet long. What was it? 15 feet high.
Yes.
No.
And wait.
13 feet high and 8 feet wide.
Right.
Okay. So we break everything down, but we're on a schedule. So we had to not just break it down, but we had to put everything away,
right.
And we just didn't have time to pack it all up the way that we took it out.
Normally
right?
do.
Normally do.
Mm-hmm.
So candles and everything, we were blowing out all the candles. But because it was a slow drive, that they wanted the shot, remember? They wanted the shot to be slow, just pulling in. And I understand, but they didn't tell us that first.
Yeah. Which they could have all filmed later.
Totally.
By the way.
Yes.
But okay.
Yes. Good point. We just kind of took our stuff off of our counters and kind of put it on the floor in a way where we knew kind of our limits about right. What we could get away with moving the trolley slowly.
Sure.
I'm getting to my point here of what gets embarrassing. Never in my, up until this day, driving that trolley, had I made this really bonehead mistake, which I will get to. So we get all that. I back up out of frame, and they're like, okay, go. And I start driving, and I hit the effing curb. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And all of our went flying everywhere.
I remember.
And I was like, are you serious? Being a girl driving Period. Driving. Being a female and driving. It is such a stereotype that we hit the curb all the time. I don't hit the curb.
No, you never did.
I never did.
Never did.
And that was the moment where I hit the damn curb on TV, and it was caught on camera. And I remember being so mad about that because I was like, we were nervous. We were getting ready to like film a TV show. And I remember opening the doors because I had a button next to the driver's seat that opened the doors. And I opened the doors and I yelled out, "You're not keeping that take!" And I just backed up again. And
did it again.
And I didn't hit the curb, and that was the take that they used.
That's funny because how I remember was it wasn't a curb. I thought there was just like a big like speed bump. I thought that's what you hit. I didn't realize it was actually the curb.
No, I hit the damn curb, and then we like had to, candles were like rolling around, and then there was like melted wax, and like it was a mess. It was a mess, and it was such a bummer because we had spent so much time like making it look exactly how we wanted it.
But it still ended up looking good.
Oh yeah, no, it was great. It was a great day.
It worked out. Always does.
And in TV, it's like hurry up and wait. Yeah. So like it was a whole nother thing of like.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep, so. We had time to set up again.
So that was like my...
Wow, I
know.
Totally
Memories unlocked, right?
Totally forgot.
Had to dig for that one.
Wow, okay, so those were your two most embarrassing moments.
Do you have any embarrassing moments?
Oh, gosh, I'm trying to think if I have... I mean, off the top of my head, I can't really think of an embarrassing moment. I mean, the only embarrassing things I can think off the top of my head is forgetting something critical.
Oh, yeah.
And then having to MacGyver, which I actually just did yesterday, but kind of comes with the territory. You're going to forget something at some point, and you get really creative. So, yeah. I can't really think. If something comes back, I'll bring it up. But, okay, I do have a couple more questions.
Okay, yes.
All right. So the second question is, has a client ever said anything mean to you? And I know this is like a TikTok trend right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, has anyone ever said anything mean to you?
Yeah. When I was younger, like a newer stylist, clients would say things and they didn't really mean this to be mean. They thought they were like complimenting me, but I would get this a lot. Like, you're way too smart to be a hairstylist. I'm like, okay, why don't I get that anymore? Either like I've gotten dumber, or the industry has gotten like a little bit more respected.
Yeah, that's kind of a crazy
thing to say.
Comment, because what, you want a dumb person cutting your hair?
Oh, I think that it's because hairstylists are not considered to be like brainiacs. And
wow, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd feel offensive.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, for the longest time, I mean, now things have changed, but like, you would go to beauty school because you couldn't do anything better with your life.
I guess it came with that connotation.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah. So, and of course, they were like older clients, like who would say that, who had that mindset. Like, you're way too smart to do this. Cool.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was one client, also an older lady, who came in and she just wanted a shampoo and blow dry shampoo set. Okay. So, and it wasn't like a roller set, it was like a curling iron set. And I did her hair, and she was very picky, like one of those people who are just so picky. They like nitpick every little spot, and this little piece has to do this, and then this little piece has to do this. And I worked on this woman for entirely too long, like going through every little part to get everything perfect with the right amount of hairspray and the right amount of back combing. And at the end of it, I was like, okay, like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I think I nailed it. Like, and she looks at it and she's like, at least it's clean.
Okay, that happens a lot. Where you're like, I got this, I nailed it, and then the look on their face when they look in the mirror says something completely different.
Yeah. Well, at least it's clean.
Clean.
Okay.
Good Good job, Velia.
Right? Yeah, it is clean.
Oh man, we love our clients though. I mean,
This was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, you know, it's growing pains, right?
Yeah.
When you start off, nothing is perfect at all. I do have to say, one embarrassing moment, I did think of one, is my very, very first like official paying bride.
Oh.
I mean paying because in the beginning I was just doing this for fun and I was just doing my friends' weddings and things. But this was the first one that actually hired me to do her makeup and hair. And I had just learned how to do updos. And I remember like her hair, it was really stick straight Asian hair and it just was not curling. It wasn't doing what I needed it to do. And it got embarrassing because I was so nervous. I was sweating. And I think I had a silk shirt on. And you probably could see all the sweat stains all over. So yeah, that would definitely be an embarrassing moment for me. But yeah, it was like my very, very first bride. But yeah, there's a learning curve when you're starting. Okay. I do have one story. This was years and years and years ago, and actually had a bride hire me, did the trial run, everything. Everything was fine. She signed the contract. And then a month later, I found out I'm pregnant. And I look at the date, and sure enough, like literally the weekend of this bride's wedding was my due date. So what does every, responsible artist do?
They don't do anything. They show up.
I wasn't going to. So I called the bride, told her the situation. I said, come back in. I've got another artist for you to do a free trial run. We're going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to walk her through it. Because I take photos, I write down everything. So the other artist came in, did the whole full trial run, everything. And she loved it. And she signed a second contract, meaning I'm not going to be doing it. The other artist is going to be doing it. Well, the day of the wedding, I mean, I am just like out to here, but I showed up in the lobby of the hotel to make sure everyone was there, the main artist was there, everyone had what they needed. Cool, everyone's good. Everyone got there early. I send them up to the room. I come home and I see messages.
Oh, no.
And this is back in the day when you had the
answering
machine, exactly.
Oh, my God.
We're dating ourselves, but and there's like I don't know how many messages. And I get on there and it's one after the other. The lead makeup artist that I'd hired, she's like in a panic, and she's like, this bride says, unless you're in the hospital giving birth, she expects you to be here.
Oh, that's nice.
To do her makeup and hair. And I'm like freaking out because I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? So I literally go back and I literally end up doing the entire wedding because she starts yelling at everyone, yelling at me, yelling at the artist, telling them they're all doing their jobs wrong. And,
oh my God.
And she's freaking out. So I finally just have to take her into a room by herself to calm her down because she was being so mean to everybody. Just everything she said, just
wow.
She actually made a couple of hairstylists cry.
What the heck?
So, yeah. So I guess that would be like one of the meanest things
Oh my God.
that a client has done or said. Yeah. Meeting expectations.
Wow.
For
And
clients.
you were just like on your due date, just doing her hair?
Yeah, and as predicted, I literally went into labor like the next day.
Oh my God, she put you into labor.
She put me into labor.
Well,
so yeah.
not the worst thing that could happen. You didn't have to do jumping jacks or bounce on an exercise
At least
ball.
it wasn't happening during the wedding. That's all I gotta say. But yeah. So that's definitely a memorable wedding.
Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, moving on. Third question.
Yeah.
Have you ever, this is a good one. Have you ever lost your cool with a client and said or did something you wish you could take back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Do I wish I took it back? Hell no. But I definitely lost my cool. Two stories come to mind. You are in both of them.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is way back when we were involved in the designer fashion circle, where we were a part of a team.
They did fashion shows.
That did fashion shows. And, oh my gosh. And we were sitting in a meeting with our team planning the fashion show. And part of planning the fashion show was bringing on vendors at the fashion shows. And very long story short about that, one of the women in the group just had a stick up her butt, like so bad about something that had to do with you. And I can't remember exactly what she was tripping out on, but she kept saying, like, she started dancing around like the idea that you were not being, like, you were doing something shady. And I was like, what is she trying to say? Like, am I going nuts here, or is she actually trying to say like Monina's doing something shady? And let me just tell you right now, if there was one person on this planet that doesn't have a shady bone in her body, it's Monina. Like, I truly can't say that about anyone, including myself. Like, I cannot imagine. So she's sitting there, and every time she opens her mouth, she's saying something more and more rude and more like,
gosh, I must have like blocked this from my memory because I don't even remember. But go ahead.
Okay, well, maybe you'll remember this part.
Okay.
Where she got like flat out, like, what is the word I'm trying to look for? She got confrontational with you. And and other people were feeling uncomfortable. I could see that like kind of growing. And I was not having it. Like, I stood up. Do you remember this? I stood up and I was like, I'm sorry, you just need to shut your mouth. And she was like, what? And she stood up and I got closer and she got closer. And then everyone was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, and I don't do that. Like, I don't just like,
you don't
try to start confrontations.
No.
But it was just the way she was attacking you like repeatedly in this meeting. It was so obnoxious and so uncalled for. That,
I mean, I remember the confrontation, but gosh, I don't remember what she was.
If she threw a punch, she would have knocked me out. Like, she was way bigger than me, but I was willing to to take it. And yeah. That was our last night in the designer fashion circle. We bounced out after
I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah,
I was like, we don't need this. Yeah.
No, we pulled out. We were investors and we pulled out.
Yes, that's right. Wow.
Yeah. So, yes, definitely lost my cool. Zero regrets. But definitely lost my cool. And then another one's a trolley story again. So one of the things we did on the trolley was we would take the trolley to like your home and have a party. You know, if you had a party and you wanted us to be there, you could hire us to come and we would go to your home. But we had a list of requirements in our contract. Like, the trees couldn't be hanging low because of our clearance. We needed ample space, like to make a wide turn, and a lot of the streets, like residential streets in our area, are very narrow. So that had to be something that you took care of before we got there. Like, we had a lot of requirements. So we show up, and there were challenges before we could even pull into this person's driveway. But we pull into the person's driveway, and then they wanted us to go all the way back into their backyard because the driveway went clear back.
I do remember this. Okay. I do remember this party.
So I pull into the driveway and I stop, and it was a husband and wife, and the wife was like, "Oh, no, we want you to pull all the way in the backyard." And I was like, "Well, I can't. Like, the mirrors on the sides are way too wide. They'll break if I try to like go through the." Okay, and she was like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, well,
you can clearly see.
It was pretty damn obvious. Yeah. And I kept telling her, no, it's not going to work. And she was like, well, do you want my husband to do it? Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. Do you want my husband? As if you can't do it.
Oh, my God.
So her husband can somehow magically make.
Do you remember what I said to her in response?
I can't remember what you said. What did you say? I do remember.
And I quote, "Sure, go get your husband, because obviously his wiener must be a magic wand that makes a trolley shrink."
You said that?
like goes out and she's like talking to the husband, and the husband does come out. Because remember, she was like, I'm gonna go get him. And so she goes and she gets her husband. Her husband comes out and she's like, honey, 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 honey. She was one of those. This will fit in the backyard, right? And he looks, I mean, less than 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And he goes, no way. And she goes, oh, okay. And then we did the party.
Yes. Out in the front.
Out in the front. And it didn't ruin anything.
No, not at all. And we kept our trolley intact.
Yeah. So that was the other time I lost my cool.
Oh man, yeah. Hey, well, it was called for.
It was. Takes a lot.
It does. It does take a lot to rile you up.
It does.
It definitely does. Yeah.
What about you? Have you ever lost your cool? I bet
times,
not.
good
I can't
times.
imagine.
Not with a client.
No,
maybe with another vendor or something, but no. I can't even think even on the trolley if we had any circumstances.
No, we haven't. We had plenty of circumstances where you could have, and you never did. You never did.
Yeah. I guess in my head I'm saying things, but maybe.
No.
Yeah, never really lost my cool. No, just with that bride and just had to take control of the situation. That was about it. So after 20 years, we definitely have some good stories behind the chair. And we just wanted to thank you guys for being here week in and week out. We appreciate it. Please like, share, subscribe. If you want to share this episode or any other episodes in the past that you think would be helpful for friends, please do so. And if you could take some time to write a review, that really, really helps us out as well. So thanks again for always being here every week. So before we go, I do have one more question for Velia. Something that most of your professional peers would disagree with you on. Is there anything?
Yes. I don't think that drugstore hair products are always bad compared to professional hair products. When we get education on hair products as a professional, we're getting it from the professional hair care products.
Sure.
I'm going to piss a lot of people off. The rhetoric is that drugstore hair products are like watered down, they're made with cheaper ingredients, things like that. And while that's not entirely false, it's not exactly true either.
Not for every hair care line.
No.
Right?
And I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that there are drugstore products that are really good, and it always depends on the formulations, like the combinations of ingredients and how they work together as a team, versus just because you buy it at Target, it's bad. I'm trying to elaborate without getting too deep into this. So like, for example, like a couple things I probably wouldn't recommend you buy from the drugstore would be like leave-in conditioners, especially sprays, because they tend to use the kinds of silicones that build up on your hair because they're really helpful in detangling. But they do build up on your hair, and the first time you use it, it'll be okay, but then it's like you never feel like you get it fully out.
Because it's just building up. And
Exactly. And then like hairspray. Hairspray, I could say, of the two, professional and drugstore brands, I would say like drugstore hairsprays do take longer to dry. So, and they're either way too hard holding or they're not hard holding enough. So if there was like ever a thing where I would say like it's watered down, possibly hairsprays.
So you would say spend your money on good hairspray.
I'd say spend your money on good hairspray, spend your money on a good leave-in conditioner. Shampoos and conditioners, that's tough because those are the things that it's so hard to find a good one for your hair, but it's also hard to find a good one that's a professional line for your hair. So it's not just because you bought it from Target that it's bad. I think what happens is people, they try to buy things like Redken or Big Sexy or, those kinds of brands that are really well known because they don't really know exactly what else to buy.
Right.
And then if they choose something that particular product is not good for their hair, they're like, what the hell am I using professional products for and spending 3 times the amount of money when I can just go buy herbal essences or whatever.
Right.
And I actually like the smell, and maybe it's not the best, but it's like, there's things about it that they like, and it's a lot less expensive. So then they just wind up sticking to drugstore brands.
Got it.
So,
okay. So that's something your peers would be against.
Oh, they would kill me.
Yeah.
They would kill me. They would, first of all, tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But the ingredients, L'Oreal, for example, owns like 1 million products.
Sure.
They own professional products and they own, drugstore products.
Right.
So,
right. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, most beauty companies have one big umbrella.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll tend to have their high end, their medium end, and then what they call their drugstore line. So yeah. So you're gonna get L'Oreal, the high, medium, low, types of products. So okay. Well, for me, I agree with you. There are certain things in the drugstore makeup wise. I'm a little bit more skeptical about skincare, but when it comes to makeup, there are drugstore products that I definitely feel like I would spend my money on, for sure, even as a professional makeup artist. One being waterproof mascara. I really don't see a difference between a drugstore waterproof mascara, well, a good one, versus like spending $50 or $60 for waterproof mascara at like Sephora or Ulta, something like that. So certain things definitely I think you could save money on, and waterproof mascara would be one of them. Another one is eyeliner, liquid eyeliner. I definitely have found some really good ones in the drugstore. Also, lip liner and lipsticks.
Oh, I buy so many lipsticks. That are
drugstore.
I don't ever discriminate against brands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think you could definitely save money in that area as well. But the one I definitely kind of like what you're saying, where to spend your money. I would definitely want you to stick with higher professional grade eyeshadows.
100%.
Yeah, because we know and I've even tried it. I've bought even the most expensive drugstore eyeshadow. It just doesn't compare with the pigment payoff as your more professional line eyeshadow.
Yeah.
Because of the pigmentation. So the payoff is definitely higher when you purchase a little bit more expensive eyeshadows.
We should do a whole episode on what our favorite drugstore brand
I love it.
are.
Yes. Well, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, what are your favorites?
Yeah, or tell us like, hey, what about this type of product versus this type of product? Let us know. We're more than happy to even try them out ourselves because we're doing that anyway. So, but okay, well, this was fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the answers. Lots of stories behind the chair. And again, thank you so much for being with us every week. We appreciate all the likes, the shares. I'm Monina.
I'm Velia.
Until next time,
Keep experimenting with your beauty routine.
Lots of bloopers in this one.
Just not the loud mouth that I am.
Are you that much louder than me?
Okay. Sometimes.
All right. I'll talk louder. Hi, Jen. All right. Hi. Welcome back.
Actually, sorry, Jen. We should do like a subscribe.
Yeah.
Mouth. Leave that out, Jen.
I just took helium.
Oh my God. Monina's alarms are going off.
My stupid alerts and notices. I've lost my train of thought. When I take helium, I don't sound any different.